Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, from wherever you're joining us today. Welcome. Come on in. Make sure you have your favorite drink and snack as we prepare to engage with each other in a lively discussion around transgender benefits and care. We encourage you to come on video so we can see your beautiful faces. We do understand Zoom fatigue is real, but rest assured this is a safe place where there is no judgment, and seeing you helps us all feel connected. Additionally, we encourage you to drop your LinkedIn information in the chat to help facilitate connecting with others. Our team is coming to you from the United States, spanning 2 time zones, Eastern and Central. We are so excited you chose to spend your time with us today. I am Josephine Guckian. My pronouns are she, her, and ella. And for those unfamiliar with my third pronoun, it's pronounced ella, E-L-L-A, and is Spanish for her. The idea for this discussion today was a year plus in the making. We tirelessly fought to push the needle forward regarding transgender benefits and care. There were some benefits already available, but was nowhere near what it needed to be. We accomplished significant changes this year, but we are not done. I do want to caveat this discussion today. The work we did and are going to discuss is U.S. only. We are very cognizant in the fact that there are steeper hills to climb in other countries as it relates to transgender care. Our hope is you come away today with a little more information to take back to your respective companies and countries and push for better transgender care. At this time, I will pass the mic to the rest of the team to introduce themselves.
Hey y'all, my name is Mallory Schneider. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm sitting in my living room today, as I'm sure lots of you are calling in from living rooms, kitchens, maybe even cars. So very, very glad to be here. I am an out trans woman. I am a risk and financial advisory manager within Deloitte & Touche LLP, which is our assurance practice. I perform largely external audit support, but I'm really, really happy to be a part of this discussion today, where we can kind of all just share what the 4 of us have gone through along with Roy, who's from the benefits team here, and looking forward to the discussion. Go ahead, Joel. You're on mute.
I am on mute. You are correct. Thank you. My name is Joel Edgin. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am a procurement manager here at Deloitte in the federal practice. My team is based out of DC, but I'm located with my family up in Pittsburgh. I am a transgender man, and I came out 5 years ago and transitioned to another company before coming to Deloitte. And my husband and I have a 12-year-old non-binary child together, and we've been together 21 years. I had to do some math. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Alex.
Joel, I don't believe that you're old enough to have been in a relationship for 21 years.
I was a baby.
So yes, my name is Alex Manis. I'm a tax manager at Deloitte here in Chicago. I do taxes for high net worth individuals and their businesses. Currently, soon to be switching over to a technology consulting group so that I can be part of the solution as opposed to just cranking out tax returns. As you can see here, I'm a Netflix nut, and I have a cat, Goose, who I adopted in December, and he's great. He's the best cat I've ever had. When I'm not doing any of those things, I try to engage with leadership at the firm through reverse mentoring relationships to sort of educate them on the trans issues and any other thing that they want to talk about. Go ahead, Roy.
Great, thanks, Alex. And hi, everyone. My name is Roy Garde. I am a talent manager as part of Deloitte Services, which is part of Deloitte US. I am in a benefits role as part of a larger rewards recognition and well-being team. My focus is on voluntary benefits, but I also have exposure to our medical benefits, and I hope I can provide some background and some information around medical benefits that we have here at Deloitte. I live here in Jersey City, and my office is also here in Jersey City, which is right across from Manhattan. And again, happy to join this group. And I believe I will turn it to Mallory.
Yeah, so before we kind of get kicked off and start with the discussion in group here, Joel, if you want to skip to the next slide, we'll give you a little bit of a kind of a background of, you know, our official, unofficial transgender working group within Deloitte here. And as you can see, kind of these initiatives and the impetus and the energy that we've had is only really a few years old. It wasn't until kind of fall of 18 that through a publication of a feature article of one of our trans practitioners that many of us got connected with each other, that historically we'd all been very disparate. And there was, like I'd be the only trans person within the Tennessee area and I wouldn't know anybody else. And that kind of changed at that point where it brought everybody together. And it's kind of snowballed since then of self-organizing, getting the attention of leadership, attending out in Equal as a group, which is the first time that, there was the trans and non-binary working group kind of came to be, and that we were able to see each other in person, which was, enormous. And that how that happened. And after that, kind of getting in touch with leadership, and through the winter of 19 into 20, establishing this working group and kind of a plan to figure out, well, what do we as trans practitioners in Deloitte need to do to have the visibility, to have our voices heard by those who are in leadership positions, who truly care about DEI and are passionate about these things, but may not necessarily know the exact needs of the community. And so that's kind of when all of this came to be. And the four of us here, Joel, Alex, Josephina, myself, all attended, out in Equal last year, and we're just totally energized and totally profoundly impacted by all of the different contents and working sessions that we had. That we had this like very, very lively group chat going on all week, and we committed to each other that we were going to kind of self-organize and take up the mantle and try to get transgender medical benefits and NB medical benefits expanded at Deloitte, because it was a constant thing that would come up within the group, and everybody would be like, yes, that's absolutely what we need to do. And then nobody would do anything about it, and it would just kind of fall silent. And so we committed to each other that we were going to take this, and we weren't going to let that happen, that we were going to do the work. And that's kind of the story that we want to a little bit tell you guys today through this guided discussion. And I think this kind of comes to a good point to talk about what the overall structure of today is going to be. I want it to be rather informal discussion. We are going to leverage breakout rooms in which we'll have kind of guided topics that then we'll discuss a little bit or tee up, and then split everyone out so you guys can talk amongst yourselves about, how can you identify these needs and what can you do without official support to kind of enact these change and operate at a grassroots level if your organizations don't have anything formally set up. But that's kind of the overall benefit here. And I would, just as Josephine did earlier, encourage as many of you who feel comfortable to come on to video. And we're going to, I think at this point, introduce the first topic here. And also don't be afraid to come off of mute. So we're gonna tee up what our first topic will be. We'll break out into the rooms and hopefully discuss, and then we'll come back and maybe a few people from some of the breakout rooms share some of the items that were discussed, and we can talk about them as a group, and then kind of do that a couple of times, and then just kind of come back as a group for an overall just discussion Q&A on anything that y'all have in mind today. So this can go anywhere you guys want it to go, which is both a blessing and a curse. So you can get as much as you get out of this, as much as you put into it. So I encourage as much active participation as possible for those who feel comfortable sharing. So kind of the first breakout room topic that I want to make sure that we're here is and discussing is, when you look at your organizations of what they're doing in the DEI space, especially around trans and non-binary inclusion or medical benefits, of like, where are the greatest needs? Where are the gaps in your organization? And what needs to be done, or where should you start? So at this time, Annalicia, if you could kind of split everyone out into breakout rooms. We're going to be there in groups of maybe 7 to 10 for about Hey everyone, and welcome back.
All right.
So,
We're back. Make it safe. Everybody get back safely from their rooms.
We had someone get abducted.
No.
Came back then, Roxanne.
Yeah, I got booted off, like told I was being moved to another group, but I'm
Oh,
okay.
no.
I made it back.
Well, welcome back, Roxanne.
Do we have any brave
Right.
souls that kind of want to share something that was discussed in their group with everyone? And so, where's the greatest need, related to trans and NB support? So, yeah, any brave folks?
I'll share. I don't mind hopping up. So I'll actually share something that I shared in the group. I work for a very progressive company. I work at Apple. We're super progressive. We have our pronouns in our directories. We have a lot of really great, we have a great benefits package, a lot of awesome support. And I think the big thing for me where I see the biggest need, I identify as non-binary. I'm on the leadership for our Pride ERG. And one of the things that I see a really big need for is we have a lot of these really great resources, but I don't know how many people are aware of them.
Yes.
So we try and, in our ERG, in our activation sessions every quarter, like, hey, there are these great resources. They're built into our website. But I want to see more resources for managers because when I was managing folks, I had people coming to me, and this was before we had a lot of those resources. So I could just kind of go back to my own knowledge and my own experience and me having to find these things. But I think that there needs to be more just more visibility and training on how to better support our folks and all folks, not just the general, hey, inclusion, diversity, we're inclusive, but like being a little bit more specific. So that's something I'd love to see.
Do you have like manager toolkits, like like a
do.
book for managers, right? And adding a section in there specifically for these types of situations would be very beneficial, especially for those who don't know where to start. That's the biggest problem, right? Where do I start? And you may have to talk to 10 people before you actually get on the path. And having that first person at the very beginning will save a lot of headache, heartache, and frustration. Okay.
Jody, I worked at Apple back in 2005 to 2009, and way back then in the dark ages, they had transgender benefits, and that was my very first employer, and I'll always remember that. That was fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, who would like to go next?
Got a lot of hands raised. Should we just pick somebody?
Oh, there's people up there. Okay, so we'll do Hannah.
I think AC was the first one to.
Oh, AC? Okay.
Cool. Hello, friends. My name is AC, like air conditioning. My pronouns are they, them. Tuning in from Oakland, and I work as an R&D scientist for Clorox. I think in our group, we were, the big shared experience was, yes, our companies may have coverage with different insurance partners, but that it's just a box checking. So while you may request, like make sure you're providing people with plans that cover these benefits, there seems to be very little intel gathering on what accessing those benefits actually looks like and actually entails. So several of us were running into barriers with not getting HRT covered, even though that's part of the plan. Or things like in my personal instance, because my gender marker with the insurance doesn't match my gender marker with the pharmacy, I can't get my prescriptions covered, even if they're not related to gender affirming care. It's just like a general routine prescription. So the reco would be, if you're adding these benefits or expanding coverage with an insurance partner, actually demand what the legwork looks like of accessing those benefits. What are the hoops you need to jump through? Because that's going to fall on trans and NB people to figure out and eat up brain space and things like that. So it's super fun.
Yeah, the biggest problem is vague language. They will state something, but it's like, what does that even mean? Other services, right? And it's like, okay, so we need this spelled out, exactly what the other services are. So next up, Jesus.
Hi, I'm Guys from Dow Chemical. One thing we talked in our breakout room is many companies have benefits for transgender people, but there is a lack of information on how to access such benefits, which are the steps to take. Recently this year, I worked with TNR to create a web page in our knowledge base. Is a place where people can just type, search what they want to know about benefits. And we have created a specific page on transgender health benefits and the specifics on how to access them. So people can easily type it, just like Googling it, to find on how to access the benefits that they now know that exist, but they also need the information on the step-by-step basis on how to access.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a pattern here. A pattern of not knowing where to start, not knowing what the benefits are, and people to help navigate that. So next up, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you. Ours is a little bit down the line further. Luckily, we have a lot of employees that are aware of some of the benefits that we provide. The problem we're seeing is, or I don't think we're providing enough benefits. And I showed my hand a little bit in the chat earlier before we broke out, but some of the things that we're kind of lacking are things like facial feminization surgeries, hair removal, different things that are top surgeries, things like that, that are often considered by leadership and by insurance companies as cosmetic or elective procedures, when we know that they're not. And so it's partly trying to kind of convince them, right, that, you know, that these are necessary, that we do need to have these things covered. And I think that's part of the roadblock we're running into. We are trying to kind of engage with other companies right now to see, you know, what are other companies doing and to see who else is actually providing these things. And I think that'll help strengthen our argument to show that other companies are doing things we are not. But it's definitely a tough conversation to get past when people are very dug in around seeing these as cosmetic surgeries.
Very, very much so. Us, like you, ran into the same issue, and we took the approach of let's build a ROI on this. Why, you know, what is the actual cost to the company to do this versus the cost of not doing it? Right?
I'd love to follow up offline more about that, Josephine. That would be really interesting.
Mallory, Alex, Joel, we can have a big discussion on it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Anyone
if you want me to, oh, go ahead, Mallory.
I was just saying, anyone who wants any sort of the public information on kind of what constitutes basic transgender benefits versus enhanced and all of that, and some of the public data and studies that have been out there to kind of prove out that these benefits cost pennies on the person at the organization, but have an enormous profound benefit on those who would make use of them, similar to like things around adoption assistance and surrogacy, which aren't going to be widely used but are hugely impactful for the people that actually need them. And sorry, Roy, you can go ahead here, and then we'll go to Jillian here, and then on to our next topic, so we have enough time to get through everything.
Sure.
Great discussion, guys.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't want to kill all the time, but I can definitely speak to what we do here at Deloitte and who we worked with and how we designed our programs to include some of those procedures, Hannah, that you had mentioned, that they are under our medical plans considered reconstructive and not cosmetic, and that there would be no tax burden to the employee, and that it would be those types of procedures would be fully covered under our plans. It's actually something new for us for calendar year 22. So maybe Mallory, if there's time later, I can share that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys want any more information, contact us through the link and all. But let's go ahead. And Jillian, if you wanted to go ahead and share whatever you had to discuss with the group.
Yeah, I think some of it was covered by Hannah, actually. A big problem is the coverage isn't very comprehensive. A lot of these insurance companies act like bottom surgery is kind of like the holy grail for trans people, when I can't speak for everyone, but I know it's not necessarily top priority for a lot of people. Um, and like figuring out how to make that change has been really difficult.
Mhm.
We tried bringing it up with, the suits, and they like brushed us off and dismissed us pretty fast. And they were like, we have great insurance. And then, that was it. And, we're sitting there telling them, no, the insurance isn't great. And they just didn't want to listen to it. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. So
I get that all the time.
yeah.
What was I going to say? There were three things and I could only remember two. Thank you, Jillian. Okay, so the next breakout topic is what is currently being done and how can you plug in and drive change? So it kind of goes to the discussion we just had amongst the larger group. We kind of understand what's currently being done, right? The bare minimum for most companies. Other companies like Apple and some of the bigger ones or Starbucks, for instance, right? Starbucks will pay for the whole thing. But how can you drive change within your organization? That's really what the topic is going to be. To Jillian's point, how can you get the suits to understand that other surgeries are required? They're not optional. They are required to complete your transition. She said the bottom surgery is the holy grail, but nobody sees that, right? It's the things that are visible that really need to take center stage to be able to be covered, and so we can live our best life. So, on to the breakout rooms.
Yes. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, let's open it back up to the group here. I know some people are probably going to be coming in as they get booted out automatically, but you leverage the raise hand functionality, and then we'll call and come off mute and share whatever was being discussed in your breakout groups. And it doesn't even have to do with this topic. It could be anything. Like this is your session. This is get out whatever you put into it. So Vanessa, if you want to tell us a little bit about what's talking in your group.
Sure. So we talked a little bit about, and it just kind of is a continuation of that, like what even is covered, what's available, is very ambiguous or like not very clear. And it also is really difficult to be like, well, if I'm trying to get this thing done in network, navigating the whole system is really difficult, and most of it is not clear. The other thing is at my company at Best Buy, I've been told by other trans people that if you're having issues with this, if you have like things that are not covered or like insurance companies are giving you having a problem with it, to actually ask HR and see if they can do like a stopgap for it. And I'm kind of wondering if I shouldn't go back to HR and kind of ask, well, if you're trans and you have these things that just aren't covered by the healthcare insurance, but you've done like a stopgap for them, what are these things, and like is there a way for us to offer these to trans people just as like a default benefit instead of some sort of exception, or if you like bug them enough, they'll cover it or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. There's a lot of things outside of traditional medical benefits that can be used to support things that aren't covered, like stipends or reimbursement programs, similar to, adoption assistance or surrogacy benefits like that could be used to pay for things that aren't covered. Or a lot of times it's like it is a covered procedure, but your provider may submit a CPT code that isn't covered by your insurance company. And so it gets denied or rejected. And then you've got that hassle of having to appeal that. And if it ultimately gets denied, you're just up the creek. So that's why that's where those things that business can actually be a little bit more agile in implementing those programs, because all they have to do is carve out funding. They don't have to deal with negotiations and legal OGC, insurance provider contracts and things like that. So I would suggest if there's appetite at your organization and your leadership, that you also explore those type of options of things outside of traditional hard medical benefits that you could offer to support your folks. But we'll go to Jillian first, and then it looks like Britta has a question or has something to contribute. So yeah, Jillian.
Yeah, so
Do you want that?
I was going to kind of talk about how I'm trying to drive. Hey, I'm on a meeting here. To drive change at my company. I accidentally got like involved in my ERG there, and I've just been very vocal there. So, but what that resulted in was we had an ERG, but we didn't have any trans representation in our ERG until I got there and started like pulling this together. Again, it happened by accident. I just got vocal about an issue, and now we have they're actually opening up a transgender liaison position on the board of the ERG, and we're forming a whole committee now. So I'm hoping to drive this change from the bottom up, because we, like I said before, we went to the suits and it was shut down immediately. So trying to start from the bottom up now.
Yeah, get another route to success. And apologies if I mispronounced it, but Britta, is that correct?
Nope, you got it right. Just like the filter is how I typically tell people they are curious. I just wanted to say one thing that we've at Consumers Energy over the last, I don't know, year plus, we've been working on a transition toolkit, and it's not just a resource for the employee, it's also for the manager and kind of at all stages, whatever stage of transition that the employee is willing or wanting or comfortable with. And one thing that we also included with that was, and I don't remember how we found this, but there is another equality, kind of pride organization in Michigan that created this. And I do not remember who this was. I'll have to look it up. But they created a kind of trans directory, if you will, of companies and businesses that are safe for trans individuals in Michigan, which, as some of you may know, is starting to be a little bit of a, I don't know what the best way to put it, but a divided climate. But yeah, we found that and we included that as well. So we're trying to take like this holistic approach of this transition toolkit, is that it's not just at work, right? It's all, all throughout your life. And that includes, your home life and your work life. So I don't think it's live yet. It might be. I think we're still waiting maybe on a few things to really roll it out to everyone, but we do have it. And it's taken us such a long time to put together, but for good reason.
Yeah, that's great. Anybody else before we kind of go into our last breakout topic discussion, and then we'll just kind of run the rest of the clock out with just as many people as want to contribute. And so I think our third topic is kind of the next in the iteration. We started with, what are the needs, what's currently being done, and then basically what's next, where do you go, what can you do now or how can you take that? So let's go ahead and break out into groups again here, and just, yeah, I'm excited to hear what everybody has.
Welcome back, everybody, for our third and final breakout session. Hopefully everybody found out where they're going to go. So we'll give it a couple more minutes, or not minutes, a few seconds for everybody to join back.
Yeah, I know we've only got 4 or 5 minutes or so left in our, overall presentation, but I think we can go over a little bit of the discussion, bears it. And as always, thank you guys. I think I've learned more from y'all than probably we have to teach or to share with the group here. So thank you so much for this lively discussion. And yeah, stay in touch. I'll put my contact information here in the chat so you guys can reach out to LinkedIn or directly to my work email. But any brave souls who want to talk about what they were discussed? Right, yeah, go ahead, Vanessa.
One of the things that has kind of stood out to me is certain things such as like gender identity and transition toolkit, where you describe each role, like not just managers, HR people, but like coworkers, and just kind of define what coming out at work might look like for each person involved. That kind of document, some of even the companies here are just starting that work, and I almost kind of took that for granted as like kind of like a thing that everyone has, and it's not. And I kind of realized that, like, I'm sure there's things like wigs or something that my company doesn't necessarily cover right now. And I'm just wondering, how can we bridge? Is there a way to bridge like ERGs and BRGs, like not just like during conferences, but also like just kind of on an ongoing basis, like, hey, our ERG is doing this or working with this benefit or trying to put together this toolkit. How can we help other ERGs and BRGs also put these things together if they want to?
Do you do like intersectionality between the BRGs?
We
like
do at Best Buy. Like I was just on a panel between the women's ERG and the Pride ERG.
Okay.
As a trans woman. So like we do have a lot of intersectionality between the ERGs, and we'll do like group mixer events where we pull 2 or more ERGs together within our company. But I don't think we have much in the way of like reaching out to other companies and other ERGs. Like,
oh, I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm kind of saying. Yeah, like externally, like this is a really good opportunity right now to like meet people in other companies that are going through like similar problems that all of these ERGs are trying to solve. So.
Right, and I hope throughout this conference that you did make a lot of connections, right? Because those connections will help with your goal of creating this bridge. Okay, so Jason.
Sorry, I just want to.
Sorry.
I just want to hop in there real quick. Vanessa, please feel free. So my name's Hannah Schwab. My pronouns are she/her. Please feel free to message me through the Pathable inbox. That is something that we're looking at trying to do, because I agree with you in trying to meet more frequently than just the Out and Equal Summit, and try to understand what different companies are doing within the benefit space, outside of the benefit space, and how we can support each other and learn from one another. So please feel free to message me.
Yes. Yeah, I would say exactly this, Vanessa and Hannah. This is how you do it cross-functionally, cross-industry, is you see all the people's emails on LinkedIn in the chat, click on them, connect with them, and stay in touch. Like so many of us are, I'm always happy to have these conversations, and all too willing, I'll drop my work to do it. I've got other time in the day that I can do actual client work and meet my deliverables. And so this is the type of stuff, this is exactly what this summit is for, is to make those connections to everybody, lifts everybody up. And that it's not just Apple leading the pack, that Apple can be, the model for the rest of us to get up there to where everybody is at that same point and sharing in the same prosperity. But I know we're at time. We can go over a little bit here, and I know Jason, I want to make sure that you have time to say, and anybody else, let's go ahead and stop sharing so we can see more faces,
Yep.
right? Let's do that.
Cool.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll stick around until we all get booted. If
Well, before everybody goes, I do want to give everybody the closing in case you drop off before time. So I want to personally thank everyone for sticking around today, participating, and making our time together pleasurable and unforgettable. As you leave us today, I ask only of one thing. Take what you learned and pass it on. Pass it on to your company, pass it on to your communities, pass it on to your family and friends, but most importantly, create the change you wish to see. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
In its power, and it's more powerful when it's shared.
All right. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I might just compound on the message that both Deloitte and Boeing have kind of shared already in this discussion. I had a Summit Buddy experience last year where we talked about benchmarking, and we've actually made it a reality. We've connected our ERG leads and our DE&I groups, and we've had, like, our first topic was literally the trans and non-binary experience of our employees and like where we're at as two different companies. So, an agricultural company benchmarking with a technology and, infrastructure company, and kind of we've learned a lot, and maybe our next steps are really like, what can we do to collaborate, because we share a board member between our two companies. But the thought of just, even seeing the different journeys that companies have taken has been really powerful for us to kind of find out maybe we've done things a little bit differently and arrived kind of in the same spaces, even within different, demographics and different areas of the country, different, corporate cultures, just to kind of find, like, at a certain point, we're all in the same space and we're all kind of trying to do the same things at the same time. And there's benefit in trying to do them together versus just by ourselves.
Yeah, why reproduce the wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we can all work together towards the same goal, that's the problem. That's a lot of the problem, right? Because we have these silos and people are working in their little silos on the same thing. It's like, look at how much change we could make if we all work together. And, instead of singularly doing it as a collective. So, thanks, Jason. Orion.
Yeah, great panel, great. This is awesome. You guys are all awesome. As a cisgender gay man, I've learned a ton. I'm coming from the federal space. So one thing that federal government has, we've got something called Pride in Federal Service, which is an organization that helps link up all the ERGs across the federal government from all the different departments and bureaus. I don't know if there's something like that in the private space that kind of crosses and pulls together lots of different ERGs in different sectors, but that's one idea for a way to work on these kinds of things that are big problems. I know that our Pride and Federal Service has a working group that's focused on LGBTQ plus healthcare and benefits and things like that. And because it's not just the Fish and Wildlife Service or the Department of Defense or Treasury, it's everyone working together. I think hopefully more likely it'll be successful. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push our ERG to figure out if we can get someone in HR to just be a point person for folks on benefits for trans folks. And I think that's something that all the ERGs can do, is sort of push on leadership to at least understand what the current benefits are. And if you have different options for different insurance companies, which ones have better coverage, things like that.
Right.
And hopefully that'll start making some noise. That I feel like this is sort of like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, that folks up high need to hear that this is an issue. So I'm hoping to help amplify this as much as I can. Thank you.
Definitely, because some companies are international, right? You're in the federal space, and within the federal space, you're in the US, right? So there's a little more collective power in creating those ERGs across different branches. When you talk about global companies like Deloitte, there's different member firms, and a lot of things don't apply across border. But it is a good idea within the bounds of the country or member firm, that it all comes together. Because what I found even within Deloitte, there's disparate sections, right? This group is working on this group's working on this, and it's like, why are we creating two different things towards the same goal? Anybody else? Go ahead, Mallory.
Before we get to the last bit, I would say if y'all aren't familiar with the concept of journey mapping, I think that is a hugely beneficial exercise, especially as it relates to the real lived experiences of people within your organization. Is go out and identify them, interview them, talk about how it was being onboarded, how it was going through name change and all of that, because that will let you know from the people who experience it where those pain points are, where the change needs to be made. And it's not always within hard medical benefits or benefits in general. It just could be, you know, like the topic of IT systems came up. IT systems are terribly rigid, and they don't care at all if they misgender you. There's absolutely no apology about it. It just, bam, it's right there in front of you, and it can wreck your day. And it's never going to stop because they're so complex, but it can get better. Your organizations can do more, especially when it comes to updating names and things like that that aren't corresponding to legal name changes, which so many things don't have to be driven upon legal name. There's only a small sliver that has to be your birth name or whatever your legal recognized name is. And that's around benefits, medical, payroll things, but everything else should be decoupled from that binary male-female identifier that the federal government requires. And that's part of the change that any organization can do. And it's completely incumbent upon them. They don't have to work with anyone else. They can do that. And so I just, understanding that and journey mapping, back to that, like that's where you have your voices heard. That's how you're not going to be making assumptions about what it's like for other trans people. It's like, I may know a lot about what it's like to be trans, but I know what it's like to be trans as I experience it, not as somebody else experiences it. And it may be completely different. And so if I only go in thinking of where I have had hardships, where I've had troubles, I'm going to be missing so much of the picture that if those people aren't included in it. And so just visibility and voices heard. I'm so thankful to each and every one of you, all of you that shared. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing, amazing time, and stay in touch. Don't end Summit and go back to your jobs and then come back next year and be like, we should do this. The real work happened tomorrow. The real work begins next Monday, or the real work begins at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. wherever you are today, you know, and hopefully you're able to take this energy, these relationships, these connections you've made, and take that change and make it reality.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
The one tip I can give that Mallory did for us was, as soon as we left Out and Equal last year, she made a recurring meeting. It was like every 2 weeks, we're going to talk about what we discovered. Excuse my cat. We're going to talk about what we discussed, and that kept it fresh in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we have an agenda. We have to prepare this by the next meeting. It keeps it fresh.
We're about 1 minute away from getting kicked out of here.
Oh yeah, we're all get abducted again.
No, I want you to cut off in the middle of a sentence. So, just thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Mallory and Joel.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Oh,
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Save the chat.
You got it? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I already put it in the OneNote. So. Well, got it.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I'm gonna be riding this high for
Victor's here. Hey, Victor.
Hey.
Vanessa's here too.
All right. Is anyone doing the networking session this evening?
Yeah, I was gonna do that. Is it already started, or is it?
It starts in 20 minutes.
I'm gonna go eat dinner with my family, and I'm gonna be on the closing plenary, and that's it for me. I have stage health now.
Y'all,
I convinced myself that I'm well, and then in 20 minutes, I'm just gonna be out.
Yeah.
So.
phenomenal job, y'all.
So great.
It was awesome.
We need to do this year over year, and it needs to focus less on us.
Yes.
And just more on the discussion of how you, yeah.
It was so good. That
It
was
was
so
good.
good.
Everything I wanted it to be.
That's
Yeah,
what I
and-
did.
and the-
breakouts, we didn't talk about anything Deloitte. I didn't bring
Right.
anything up, and it was just facilitating for everyone else, and it was so perfect.
Well, it was good to see that pretty much everybody's in the same boat.
I'm
Right.
still recording.
Did you see in the chat?
Everybody's in the same boat, and
Yep,
the
we're still
boat
recording.
is sinking. No, the
Let's
boat's
stop the
good.
recording. Wait.